Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanarari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanarari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajagacharya Stotra Sata Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Nanta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Galadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Bhyantara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Nitai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Can you see? Okay. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 12, Text 12. And we'll do a couple of verses because there's some limited purports. Avatara maya dristya Ramamanashyate gunai Saham tad dristum ichhami Yatte yosid vapurdritam Avatara maya drista Ramamanashyate gunai Soham tadristam ichhami Yatte yosid vapurdritam Avatara mayadristam Ramamanaya deytune Soham tadristam ichhami Yatte yosid vapurdritam Avatara maya dristam te gurim. Soham tadristam ichami. Yate yosidva purditam. Tada maya dristya. Rastamaya. Soham tadristam ichami. Yate. Ladies. Avatara maya dristya. Ramamanashyate gunai. Soham tadristam ichami. Yate yosid vapurdritam. Avatara maya dristya. Ramamanaya se gurim. Soham tadristam ichami. Avatara, incarnations. Maya, by me. Dristha, have been seen. Ramamanasya, while you demonstrate your various pastimes. Te, of you. Gunai, by the manifestation of transcendental qualities. Sa, Lord Shiva. Aham, I. Tat, that incarnation. Dristam ichhami, wish to see. Yat, which. Te, of you. Yosit vapu, the body of a woman. Dritam, was accepted. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. My Lord, I have seen all incarnations of, all kinds of incarnations you have exhibited by your transcendental qualities. And now that you have appeared as a beautiful young woman, I wish to see that form of your lordships. When Lord Shiva, this is the purport by Srila Prabhupada, when Lord Shiva approached Lord Vishnu inquired about the purpose of Lord Shiva's coming there. Now Lord Shiva disclosed his desire. He wanted to see the recent incarnation of Mohini Murti, which Lord Vishnu had assumed to distribute the nectar generated by the churning of the ocean of milk. I'm going to do the next couple of verses as well, if you don't mind. This is now Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, text 13. My Lord, you have come here desiring to see that form of your lordship which you showed to the demons to captivate them completely, and in this way enabled the demigods to drink the nectar. I'm very eager to see that form. Text 14, there was no purport to that. Sukadeva Goswami said, when Lord Vishnu was thus requested by Lord Shiva, who carries a trident in his hand, he smiled with gravity and replied to Lord Shiva as follows. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is known as Yogeshvara. Yatra Yogeshvaraya Krishna. Mystic yogis want to acquire some power by practicing the yoga system. But Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is known as the Supreme Lord of all mystic power. Lord Shiva wanted to see Mohini Murti, which was captivating the entire world. And Lord Vishnu was gravely thinking of how to captivate Lord Shiva also. Therefore, the word bhavagambitram is used here. The illusory material energy is represented by Durga Devi, who is the wife of Girisha, or Lord Shiva. Durga Devi could not captivate Lord Shiva's mind, but now that Lord Shiva wanted to see Lord Vishnu's feminine form, Lord Vishnu, by his mystic power, would assume a form that would captivate even Lord Shiva. Therefore, Lord Vishnu was grave, and at the same time he was smiling. Om Gyanatimirandasya Galanjana Salakaya Chakshura Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhavayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Vicharne Nevisesha Shunyavadi Pashyachade Sataline. So this is an amazing section of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. This is, as we will discover as the verses go on. Firstly, who is Lord Shiva? We have this understanding of who Lord Shiva is. Personally, I've always been attracted to Lord Shiva for some reason or other. We know that he's the foremost, the greatest devotee in this universe, who is always meditating on the Supreme Lord and his pastimes. Lord Shiva is very unique, actually, and has a significant position in the cosmic universe, the cosmic manifestation. In fact, Lord Shiva is the most powerful, second only to Lord Vishnu. Shiva, in fact, is an expansion of Lord Krishna. He is similarly the servant and a unique friend of Krishna. So this is why this pastime is happening. It's based on a friendship basis. When we go into this whole Leela that's happening here, you know how when you have really good friends, sometimes you want to do a practical joke on them, right? So what Krishna, Lord Vishnu, is doing here is he's having a practical joke with Lord Shiva. Very, very sort of transcendental, but in the same, and it's a pretty heavy sort of joke, but anyway. Lord Shiva is actually very different from other tattvas, in that he is also Purusha tattva, and the jivas are and not a jiva tattva. In that Lord Shiva is a male Shakti, Purusha, and the jiva Shaktis are always female. So this will explain why he could not be attracted or was not attracted to the original Mohini Murti that was presented to the demigods and to the demons. They were all infatuated, they were all, wow. But Lord Shiva heard about this, but he wasn't really attracted to that form. And why? He is now asking the Lord to show him this female form. It's revealed in the scriptures that actually Krishna has 64 qualities. Brahma, Lord Brahma, possesses 78 of those qualities, and Lord Shiva actually possesses 84% of those qualities. We as Jiva souls also have 78% of Krishna's qualities, believe it or not. We're very low on the rung at the moment because we're conditioned souls, but technically speaking we have 78% of these qualities. No one possesses 100% of the qualities. So the scriptures like the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and the Brahma Samhita and the Padma Puranas, etc., they explain the position of Lord Shiva in this universe. In the Brahma Samhita, it clearly establishes that Lord Shiva derives all his power, all his strength, everything from Lord Vishnu. So there's a room conversation, and this is really interesting from my perspective, was that Prabhupada had a room conversation in Chicago in 1975, where Prabhupada said, so we worship Lord Shiva as a Vaishnava. We give respect to a Vaishnava, so why not to Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva is a big, big Vaishnava. But generally the devotees of Lord Shiva, they take Lord Shiva to be an independent god. So this is always the battle. When I'm doing work within the Hindu community, they're either a Shaivite or a Vaishnava. When I go to the Durga temple, you know, you've got the little altar of Radha and Krishna and Sita Ram Lakshman, there's big, big Durga Devi, and there's the Shiva Lingam of Lord Shiva. And it's wonderful. I love going there, and it's in your consciousness actually where you put your attention. But generally the devotees of Lord Shiva, they take Lord Shiva to be an independent god, and that is absolutely an offence. And Prabhupada said that is offensive. If you know that Lord Shiva is also a devotee, you can give more respect to Lord Shiva, and Krishna will be pleased. The devotee asked a question at this particular moment. He said about a congregational member. He asked, Srila Prabhupada, and there was a group of people there, you know, as we sometimes have in an audience, you know. Prabhupada, this man here, he's not chanting Hare Krishna, but he chants Om Namo Shivaya. Prabhupada said, that is all right. And the devotees turned to Prabhupada and said, that is all right. And Prabhupada said, he will gradually become a devotee. When God, Lord Shiva, will be pleased upon him, he will advise to worship Krishna. If he simply understands that Lord Shiva is a Vaishnava, and if he worships Lord Shiva, then he will get all the benefits. So this is also something that happened to us when we, Bhakti and I and a group of us, when we first came to Krishna consciousness, we were involved with, this was in the late 70s, we were involved with a Shaivite meditation group. And we would have evenings where there'd be satsang and we would sing Om Namo Shivaya. A beautiful chant, really beautiful chant, completely captivating. And we would sit there and Om Namo Shivaya, but it was always kind of mystical. It wasn't like a Hare Krishna sort of kirtan with bright lights, beautiful deities and all this kind of stuff. So there's a little bit of mode of ignorance attached to this sort of and all the lights would be down, you know, and everybody would be Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya, and then, you know, it was actually really quite mystifying. So anyway, what happened was, in due course of time, we weren't satisfied with that chanting alone. Hang on, I think what's happened here. We weren't satisfied with that, and we came to, eventually came to Krishna consciousness. And I can only see that this was actually by Lord Shiva's mercy, because we had sincerity, we wanted to find out the truth. And the Shaivite philosophy was limited, that impersonal understanding just didn't hit the mark with us. Krishna, God must be a person, it can't just be an energy. And so we see that Lord Shiva actually was the great inspiration in our Krishna consciousness, in my Krishna consciousness. To this very day, when I hear the Om Namo Shivaya chant, I love it. I really love that chant. Some of our devotees actually chant it at different functions that we have, and when it comes up I always feel, wow, this is so fulfilling, because it was through Lord Shiva that we came to this wonderful platform of Krishna consciousness. So in this verse also it mentions that Lord Shiva carries a trident. Everybody know what a trident is? It's a powerful weapon, isn't it? What's it look like?
It looks like a fork, like a very big fork.
Like a pitchfork, isn't it? What do they do with that? What does Lord Shiva do with that? He pricks people. It's a weapon. And it's the most powerful weapon. Lord Shiva's trident is actually the most powerful weapon in the universe. You know, you have the Brahmastras, you have all these different weapons that we know about, and they're so proud nowadays of an atomic bomb or a H-bomb or a nuclear bomb. This is the most powerful weapon, but actually we understand that Lord Shiva's trident is actually the most powerful weapon that you can have in the universe. Now the trident actually represents his role, Lord Shiva's role, as the destroyer of evil. Lord Shiva is the destroyer of evil and the protector of the cosmos, signifying his ability to make cosmic balance and harmony. So if you have someone that is the guardian, they have to be strong. And Lord Shiva is so strong with this trident, who is the strongest weapon. So in the previous verses that we've heard during the week, the demigods were struggling with this ongoing differences. There was ongoing differences between the demigods and the demons, and the demigods had recently been defeated in battle. So for those of you that are not aware of what we're studying at the moment in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Lord Vishnu promised them Amrita, nectar, if they would temporarily cooperate with the demons and churn the ocean of milk. Seeing it's in their interest to cooperate, they made the proposal to the demons, who agreed to this joint venture, and using Mount Mandara as a churning stick and the serpent Vashuki as a churning rope, they carried out the order of the Lord. When Vishnu appeared as a turtle, what was the name of Krishna as a turtle? Kurmaji, yes, and acted as a pivot for Mount Mandara. Initially, the churning of the ocean produced nothing valuable, really, but instead it emanated what? Poison, a dangerous poison. What was the poison called? Hala hala. Hala hala. When the uncontrolled poison was forcefully spread up and down in all directions, it just went all over the place. All the demigods approached Lord Shiva. What's Lord Shiva? He's the protector of the universe. So they approached Lord Shiva seeking his shelter. Dear Lord Shiva, please protect us, this poison is going everywhere. And prayed for his protection. Being compassionate and dedicated to auspiciousness and benevolent work, Lord Shiva agreed to drink the poison. This is an amazing thing. The goddess Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva, was also there. Being aware of the Lord's capacity, she knew the potency of Lord Shiva, gave her consent. Now, as a good husband, what do you always do? You get the consent of your wife. Is this okay to do this? Most of the time, Bhakti. Is this okay to do? And Parvati said, no problem, you can handle this poison. So Shiva reduced the vast slick of poison into a small quantity that he could hold in the cup of his hand, and then he drank it. But a few drops landed on the ground, and that was the poison for scorpions, redback spiders. It even travelled all the way to Australia. Redback spiders, serpents, everything, you know. Venomous creatures in the world, they all became the blue ring octopus, it's also for Australia. So it really splattered quite a distance. After Lord Shiva drank the poison, his neck became bluish. And that's why when we see pictures of Lord Shiva, he has a bluish mark in the front of his throat. But this mark actually enhances his beauty. He's a very, very beautiful form of Lord Shiva. One of his names is therefore called Nilakanta, Hare Krishna Mataji, one with a bluish neck. In the Bhagavad Purana, there are instructive verses regarding Shiva's compassionate act. So what Shiva did was actually a really compassionate act. And the focus of this class today is something that I want to focus on, in that it is incumbent upon all of us actually to develop our quality of compassion. We have to be far more compassionate, not thinking of ourselves. Even in Krishna consciousness, it's okay that we're chanting our rounds for self-development, for self-realization, for attaining Krishna consciousness, but more than that, we should have the consciousness of wanting to help other people. In the Bhagavad Purana, it is very instructive verse that Shiva gives in as far as this compassion. It is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of the people in general. So they're willing to forego their own health, their own safety and everything for the benefit of other people. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Lord, who is present in everyone's heart. It is the highest form of devotional service, to do something to help another living entity. Compassion on the fallen souls by a devotee like Lord Shiva is so important. Amazingly, this week, I was deeply inspired by two things this week. You know, sometimes you get some real wonderful inspirations. I don't know if any of you saw it this week, but somebody posted this little YouTube clip of Srila Prabhupada on compassion. Did anybody see that on their computer this week? Beautiful pictures of Srila Prabhupada in different areas. What that little podcast said was this, a little YouTube clip said is, this movement should be pushed on. Just as great souls always think of the poor souls, similarly, you should always feel that is the way. Lord Jesus Christ, he also prayed for the sinful persons. So this is very good, Prabhupada said. If we struggle hard and push on this movement, even then we don't get any followers, Krishna will still be satisfied. And our business is to satisfy Krishna. That is bhakti. So this point of compassion and helping other people is actually bhakti yoga. The other thing that I was inspired with, I'm reading at the moment the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And in Adhikanda Part 2, there's this section about the glorious pastimes of Haridas Thakur. Has anybody ever read that? It's a more in-depth understanding of what Haridas Thakur actually did. We all know the story. Haridas Thakur used to chant 300,000 rounds of chanting Hare Krishna every day. And, you know, we also know the vague sort of story about how he was beaten in the marketplaces. But actually what happened in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it goes more into explicit sort of detail as to what happened with Haridas Thakur. So after meeting Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip, Haridas went to a place called Pulia. Anybody know where Pulia is? In what region? Pulia, P-H-U-L-I-Y-A, Pulia. Anyway, there he chanted the holy names 300,000 times a day, much to the dislike of the so-called Brahmanas in that region at the time. They couldn't stand it. What is this guy? You know, number one, he's a Muslim. What the hell is he doing chanting our names of God? So they hated him. They really hated him. They despised the fact that he was also not caring for any Brahminical sacrifices and jagyas or anything. All he wanted to do was just chant. So he would chant through the streets, through the marketplaces, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Everybody was criticizing him. Look at this beggar, he's chanting Hare Krishna. And it also came to the attention to the Mohammedan rulers at that stage in this area. Especially this one guy, the Qazi. He hated him. He was so offended. He was a Muslim, and he hated the fact that this Muslim had turned coat, had turned away from Islamic faith, and was chanting these horrible names of God in the Hindu tradition, the untouchables. So the Qazi actually went to the king of this area and said to the king, hey, listen, this Haridas, he's chanting throughout the streets of Pulia, chanting the holy names of God. Even the Brahmins don't like him. We have to bring him in. And so the king said, you know, oh, well, okay, bring him in. So they brought him before the king and presented Haridas to the king and said, this Haridas is blaspheming the holy Islamic teachings. He is Islam, he's Muslim, and he's chanting these names. He's blaspheming the holy name of Allah. And the king said, are you doing this, Haridas? And Haridas Thakur made a whole long talk with the king, explaining that there's no difference between the name Allah and the name Krishna or Govinda. And he said it's all the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. He had such a wonderful argument that the king actually thought, that makes sense. And in our preaching also, sometimes in our interfaith preaching, when we're teaching to other religious traditions, when we bring up this point that this name of Krishna is not different to the names that you give God in your name, it is simply a description of the Supreme Lord. Krishna means the all-attractive personality in Sanskrit, the oldest language known to mankind. Do you think your God is all-attractive? Of course he's all-attractive. So we can call him Krishna, can't we? And so he had this argument with the Muslim king. So the king was actually, that sounds reasonable, but this Qazi, who was totally envious, said, no, he's blaspheming, he must be killed. He's an abomination to the Islamic faith. So then they said, and the king said, and he relented, and he said, yes, all right, he must be killed. And so thereby they got the henchmen. And the Qazi said, I want you to beat this man to death. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are to beat him so severely, and I want you to do it in a public place, so everybody knows that if you chant the names of these Hindu gods, you will also be beaten to death like this man. So usually the punishment that they would give to this person would be something like maybe 1 or 2 marketplaces, and the person would be dead. Because these guys are big mothers, you know, with sticks and everything, and they beat him. 1 marketplace, 2 marketplaces, 3 marketplaces, 4 marketplaces, right up to 22 marketplaces. And they said, "Why are you smiling?" to Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was smiling. He was completely unaffected by it because he was in transcendental bliss of the holy name. Now this is such an important thing to remember. When one is in complete Krishna consciousness, as Haridas Thakur was, you do not feel the afflictions of material suffering at all. You do not feel it. So thereby, he was smiling at these assailants. He said, "You should have died at the third marketplace, but what the heck is going on here?" "Oh," he said, "you want to kill me? Will that make you happy if I die?" And they said, "Yes, it'll make us happy. So please die." And so Haridas said, "Certainly." And he withdrew all his life air, stopped breathing, and it was a limp body. Oh, finally. So they carried his body back to the king, his dead body, placed the dead body before the king. He said, "See, now he's dead." The Qazi was very pleased, very good. So then the king said, "Please, go and bury him immediately. Bury him in the ground." Now, in the Islamic tradition, when a person dies, they have to be buried very quickly. And that's their process, burying. And the Qazi said, "No! I don't want him buried like a proper Muslim. He should be just discarded. Let the vultures and the fish and everybody eat him. Throw him in the Ganges." And the king said, "Well, I guess you're right. You know, he is a blasphemer and we should do the right thing with his body. So throw him in the river." So then they went to pick up this limp body of Haridas Thakur. Now, he wasn't a big person or anything like that, but nobody could lift him. His body was so heavy that it took many men to pick up his body. Oh my God, he's so heavy. And they carried him slowly to the Ganga, and they threw his body in the Ganges, and his body just floated limply down the Ganges. And then down the road a little bit, down the river, it fell along the lake, and Haridas revived his meditation, he revived his consciousness, started breathing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And everybody, because they've been to 22 marketplaces, everybody saw how they beat this man to death. So all the marketplace people were understanding he's been beaten to death. And now here he is, he's walking the streets of the marketplace. Hare Krishna. So they were astounded. And he went straight to the king, walked into the palace, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And the king said, "This is a marvelous thing. You are definitely a saint. You are so wonderful. I will give you free rein in Fulia. Anywhere you want to chant, you can chant. I'm so offended I'm so fallen that I've offended you." And so Haridas Thakur had free rein. He had, like they say in Australia, he had the keys to the city. The Qazi was not pleased with it, but he passed away very soon after with a very disabling disease. And also those men that actually did that damage to Haridas were also in the same way. They died very quickly. So Haridas Thakur suffered those beatings and everything, principally for those people that were afflicting him, and also for the Brahmins that were insulting him. So his suffering was for the sins of the Brahmins who were disrespectful to a Vaishnava. He was a pure Vaishnava and they were so disrespectful to him. So he took that suffering on himself. He was a pure devotee, although he said, "I've committed so many sins," but we understand that actually the sins that Haridas Thakur was actually working off, in a sense, karmically working off, were the sins of these offenders. If a devotee commits a Vaishnava aparad, his offence is said to be like a mad elephant offence. We've all heard that one, a mad elephant. I've saw some YouTube clips recently of a mad elephant in a marketplace. It really is horrific. People run like anything when an elephant goes nuts. And so his creeper of devotional service is destroyed. Bhaktivedanta says a very interesting thing in this connection. He says that any cruel behaviour to any individual soul is an aparad. So if we do anything that is evil or cruel in any way to any living entity, it is an aparad. So very similarly, the suffering of Lord Jesus was also put under, and again he also forgave those offenders, and that is the quality of a pure devotee. So devotees should endeavour to develop a deep compassion for the fallen conditioned souls any way they can. As a Hare Krishna, we should be outreaching, we should be really compassionate for those people in the fallen conditioned souls. It was mentioned in class yesterday that we are encouraged to pray and hear the prayers of the great Mahabhagavatas to inspire us and assist us. That was a really good point that was made. Like the beautiful prayers that are spoken here by Lord Shiva in these passages. So like Haridas Thakur, the greatest prayer and the greatest welfare prayer that we can have and that we can earnestly do is to... You right? That's not the prayer. The prayer, we all know what the prayer is, isn't it? That we call out the name of God, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, who went to a Radhika's concert in the St Kilda Town Hall? How did you find it? Wasn't it amazing? Just a wonderful concert of the holy name of the Lord. So one thing that Radhika was mentioning, which is very pertinent, and it's something that I bring up quite often in the classes that I give, is that the welfare of the humanity at this point of time. He mentioned that there is a huge mess in the world today with escalating wars and suffering. If you have the misfortune of watching the news, and I call it a misfortune, I have to do it because of communications, because I'm the communications officer, I have to know what's going on in the world. But if you have the misfortune of watching the news, it is horrific. I sincerely hope that all of you are aware of the seriousness of what is happening in the world today. Our prayers, believe it or not, are the only means by which this situation can change. What you have in your grasp at the moment that has been given to you, this holy mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the thing that can save the world, is the thing that can actually stop this insane situation that is rife throughout the world. So we have this month of Kartik, right? And our effort to chant with great attention should be our number one vow. So we all have different vows that we make. We used to make vows also in the Christian tradition. We would fast for Lent, we would give up lollies, and we would do so many different things. So in this Damodar Vrata also we give up certain things. Some people are not having sweets, other people are chanting extra rounds. Some are getting up early in the morning, and that's all very good. And it's said that any sort of little devotional service extra that you're doing during this month is 100 times multiplied in its benefits of those activities. So if, more than anything, on a compassionate level, if we really make an effort to chant Hare Krishna, our rounds, the 16 rounds that we've promised that we would do, if we really make an effort to really focus as much as we can, making that effort in this month, then what that will happen is that the benefit that you're giving to the whole world is 100 times increased in this month. So we may think, I'm sitting in my little home in Point Cook or wherever in Albert Park and I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. How is that affecting the world? It is a vibration that we are repeating, a transcendental sound vibration that pierces through everything, through the walls of your house, through the big buildings in Melbourne, and it travels so great a distance. We have no idea, we can't fathom how far our chanting actually permeates creation. Collectively, if all of us, our chanting is the only solace in this world and keeping the place sane. And at this stage, we need even better vows of chanting. So your efforts to save this planet and end the needless suffering that the demons are inflicting on this world population, and they are all demons, they're demoniac people when you hear what they're doing. No one is innocent in this material world. I know we see a lot of suffering. No one's innocent in this material world, but by the power of the holy name, anything is possible to bring about a peaceful world at least. Like Lord Shiva, each and every one of us should be able to drink the poison to assist humanity. It's incumbent upon us to actually take on that mission and see, it's up to me. I can actually do something to help the situation. Let me chant really diligent rounds. To finish up, because we've had the beautiful, it was a bit like a Bhakta and Bhakti show today, wasn't it really? Anyway, so to finish up, Lord Shiva was desperate to see the beautiful form of the Lord, and this is really an interesting thing. As we see in the subsequent verses of this incredible pastime, Lord Krishna wanted to play a practical joke on Lord Shiva, a really heavy joke, but it was a joke nonetheless. In one sense, he was quite, it mentioned here that he was quite severe about this, but in the same token, he was smiling. He knew what he was going to do. To his friend, his best friend, right? Lord Shiva. He was very grave but smiling, and he really wanted to have fun with his dear friend. He saw, Lord Shiva is asking, "Oh, can I see your Mohini Murti form?" And the physical form that Lord Vishnu presented to the demons wouldn't have held any attraction for him, because he's also Purusha. So he's only attracted by Krishna and Vishnu. And so nothing in the female form in this material world would have attracted Lord Shiva. So basically Shiva was saying, "Come on, show me your Mohini Murti form." And so the joke actually, and Krishna set it up this way because Durga Devi, Uma, also went with Lord Shiva. And there's no greater insult or embarrassment when you're put on the spot and your wife is there, It's like if you're really being embarrassed by someone because you've done something stupid, and your wife is there and says, "See?" Men, can you relate to that? Right? So, here was Uma also, so Krishna knew, oh yeah, his wife is with him as well. Okay, and who else is there? Oh yeah, all the sages are watching. Fantastic. And so he thought, okay, let's put this to the test. And so in the subsequent verses, we see how this unusual section of the Bhagavatam plays out, and how Lord Shiva actually succumbs to the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu as Mohini Murti, and he teases him. He teases him so much, and it's actually a fun thing. So I won't go into the details, but look forward to a really interesting episode in this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam epic of Lord Shiva. I'll stop here. Yantara Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, anybody got any questions at all, Prabhu? Yes, Mataji? Hang on, just grab the microphone for us.
You're talking about chanting.
Yes.
Is there any specific way you have to sit down, or can you do while you're walking around, working in the house?
You can do it while you're washing the dishes.
Thank you.
You can do it while making the bed. Anyway, that sound vibration permeates everything. The main thing is the sincerity in your heart as to how you're chanting. And you can chant, yes, I want to make spiritual advancement, I want to be free of this material world, which is good. You can also chant, I want to help humanity. If you see the suffering, and you think, what can I do? What can I do as an individual to help? Like you see the people suffering in Gaza, the little children that are being killed, You know, the demoniac things that are happening in Ukraine and in Russia. And you think, how can I, this individual sitting here in Albert Park, do anything to help these people? The holy name that you chant, if you have that compassionate nature, I'm chanting this for their welfare, for humanity. And I'm clearly enunciating those mantras, Hare Krishna, with that feeling of love and connection to Krishna, you make a difference. More than all the peacekeepers in the world. More than all the UN sanctions and procedures that they have to try and bring about peace, you know, you have the power. We collectively have the power to actually change the world. Just as a point of that, I mentioned the last time, in the 70s, while Prabhupada was still on this planet, there was the Cold War between the Soviet Union and Russia. They had more nuclear weapons at that stage than they have now. There was a de-escalation of their nuclear weapons over the last few years. But there is still, I think Russia still has 6,000 nuclear weapons that can destroy the face of the earth. So at that stage they had even more, and the conflict was really strong at that stage with Ronald Reagan. And Prabhupada said that the only reason why a war was averted at that stage was because the devotees were chanting Hare Krishna. And he said also, all we need is 1% of the population to start chanting Hare Krishna diligently, and the world will be a peaceful place. 1% of the population. That's what we have to strive for. So you have it in your power. Who would think, you know, if you went to the United Nations and you stood up there, you, a lady from Albert Park, wherever, and said, I have the answer for the peace. What I'm doing is creating. People will laugh at you, just as they laughed at Haridas Thakur, right? They laughed at him. You and your chanting, we should be doing this and that, you know. And Haridas Thakur couldn't care less. In the end, he proved to them the power of the holy name. Number one, they couldn't kill him. And number two, he came back to life and proved to everyone the power of the pure devotee. So become pure, chant Hare Krishna really diligently, any way you can, anywhere you can. If you're in the car, put on a kirtan. If you're before you go to bed, fervently pray the holy name just before you go to sleep. Have your life filled with the holy name, and you will help the world's situation. This is compassion. That's the compassion of a Vaishnava. Does that make sense?
Sure does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In Christian faith, the saying that Jesus suffered for our sins, it's pretty big. We hear that everywhere. You also mentioned that today Lord Shiva also suffered for our sins. And in the karma philosophy, Prabhu, you know, we suffer for our own sins. We're responsible for our own sins and karmas, and not for anyone else's. Could you please elaborate on that, how it works?
Right, yeah, actually that's not so. As a teacher, if one is presenting God consciousness to the public, in order to do that, the person has to be ready to suffer some of the sins of the people that he is instructing. So thereby, say for example, if you have your guru, your spiritual master actually takes on some of your karma when you come for initiation. Similarly, and this is an important thing to realize, similarly, and that's your Diksha Guru, similarly your Shiksha Guru takes on some karma. So if you have a Bhakti Vriksha group, and you're encouraging people to come to your Bhakti Vriksha group, and you're preaching Krishna consciousness, be prepared to take some of the karma. That's compassion. Take it on. You know, if you have a family, you take on some of the karma of your children. You also take on the karma if your wife is sinful, the husband, and vice versa. If the husband is sinful, similarly the wife will take on some of the karma, because there is that relationship. So it's not just you're responsible for your own karma. When a spiritual teacher comes and starts helping you, he or she is completely aware of what they're doing. If I preach to this person, If I make that person a devotee, in one sense I'm getting some of his karma, his or her karma. And I have to pass that on too. And this is, it's not just it sits here. By you becoming a very dedicated devotee, you pass it on in the parampara to your spiritual master, he passes on to his spiritual master, he passes on, and Krishna burns it. All gone. But there are sometimes some remnants of that karma still with the teacher. So sometimes we see, there's sometimes a criticism of, say, a temple president. And we may say, oh, this temple president has this illness and that illness and that illness. Be aware the reason why that temple president or that leader has got that illness. It's because he's taken on that role of serving his congregation. Just recently also we have the situation where one of the gurus, and a couple of the gurus are actually suffering quite extensively with Alzheimer's, debilitating diseases, mental capacity is lost, and again, it's not necessarily their karma, but it's the karma that they've accrued by being compassionate, and so thereby when we see that situation in people that have taught us Krishna consciousness, we should do everything we can to support them and help them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they've helped you to understand reality, the truth. So that's it. Any other questions? Yes, Mataji. You come to you. Over there, Prabhu. Hey, Bob, Prabhu. That one here, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. So just like a follow-up question from there as well, that after the disciple gets initiated, if we also commit offenses while chanting the holy name, does the spiritual master suffer for those offenses?
Yep. Yeah. Prabhupada used to say about Lord Jesus Christ, actually, a really interesting thing. He said the Christians, they say that Lord Jesus Christ died for my sins, right? And I'm saved. And Prabhupada said, you keep on sinning, he keeps on dying. If you keep on sinning, he has to suffer more. So why are you sinning? Don't sin. And then you won't hurt your teacher.
Yeah, what I mean is that we have to be attentive in chanting, and we try, but we may not always be able to be that attentive.
Yeah, right.
So do they suffer for...
No, not if you're sincerely trying, there's no aparad in that. Krishna knows your position. He's your ever best friend. He loves you so much. And he sees if you're making an effort, and even if it's not the best effort, he is so pleased that you're doing this. So there is absolutely no karma attached to that. It's like, say for example, if you've had children, and your child passes a stool on your lap. There was one interesting occasion where my wife, I got this book on massage, Ayurvedic massage for little babies. And I thought, this is wonderful for my daughter, I want to do this Ayurvedic massage. And I did the Ayurvedic massage and she pooed all over me. But I didn't take any offense, it's like, oh, my little girl, So in the same way, Krishna sees us as our struggling little baby in Krishna consciousness. And we may poo a little bit on him, he doesn't mind at all. So no. But when we are totally offensive, that's when, or we're insulting a Vaishnava deliberately, then that's an offense. And Krishna can't tolerate that. He can't tolerate that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Just pass the microphone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. My question is follow-up actually to the taking the sins of the disciples. How can a disciple ensure that, when he or she is getting initiated, they give a minimum impact to the spiritual master?
By being compassionate to the people that you come in contact with. Spread the holy name. That's what Prabhupada was saying in that little YouTube clip. Our business is simply to spread this knowledge. Whether people take it up or not, that doesn't matter. Prabhupada said that. Whether people come or not, it doesn't matter. but we've done our job of presenting, and that pleases Krishna. We only want to please Krishna. So you simply do the best you can as far as preaching is concerned, bringing other people to this understanding, bringing people out of the illusion thinking that they're this body, that anything that is to be had in this material world is in any way enjoyable. We don't belong here. We're fish out of water. We've got to go back home, back to Godhead. This is a place of suffering. There is nothing but suffering. There's temporary little blips of so-called happiness, very tiny little fleeting things. Nothing, no happiness in this world lasts for a long time. Not even the greatest happiness. People think, oh yes, sex life is the greatest happiness. Gone like that. And then what? Okay, it's all over. Or you take an intoxicant, you know, whoa, crash. I've personal experience of that. There's the highs and the extreme lows. Everything is fleeting. So your spiritual master is telling you, please do my business. Present this knowledge to as many people as you can, however you can. If you do that, you please me, you please Krishna. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
We'll stop here.